You know, recently we've seen a significant decline in spooky cartoons or horror shows aimed at a younger audience in general. This decrease mainly results from shifting business models that prioritize investment in safe content with the widest appeal possible, as networks continue to compete in the digital market. But as scarce as the output for new gothic animation has been over the last decade, in February of 2016, Cartoon Network premiered Bunnicula, a modern adaptation of the popular book series of the same name launched in the late 70s. The show was developed by Jessica Brutsky and produced by Maxwell Adams, best known for creating the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Despite having a strong run of 104 episodes over 3 seasons, the show struggled to garner much attention during its lifespan and is mostly remembered today only by a small cult fan base, those who managed to catch its inconsistent broadcasts. Because from the start, the network treated Bunnicula like a low-priority slot filler, confined mostly to the Saturday morning 9:30 to 10 time slot. To be honest, between 2016 and 18, practically every new show was getting overshadowed by their top powerhouse franchises, and I'm specifically referring to Teen Titans Go, which notoriously started consuming over 75% of the weekly schedule around 2017, with its increasing marathons. After airing what I can only describe as a trial run of episodes on the main channel for barely even a month, with very little, if any, promotion or advertisement, the series was abruptly put on a year-long hiatus. However, during this time, Boomerang, their sister network known for reruns of classic Hanna-Barbera shows, was undergoing a significant rebrand with new original content. This prompted a new business strategy, debuting Bunnicula to air exclusively alongside new iterations of Looney Tunes and Scooby-Doo, as part of their push to bring in newer viewers and widen the appeal of familiar classics with modern reimaginings. The reason Bunnicula was thrown into the mix was that its lighthearted tone, combined with slapstick antics and dark humor, aligned perfectly with other classic Warner Brothers properties, most notably the paranormal Monster of the Week format of Scooby-Doo. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with this animated version but have read the books, that probably sounds completely unlike what you remember. And yeah, it's necessary to note going in that this show is a loose adaptation that makes several revisions and alterations to the source material. For some, this might be a drawback, and I'll compare and contrast the major differences, but personally, I don't really mind that they went in this new direction for the format of the series, especially considering the original author, James Howe, was a consulting producer who accepted any necessary updates or restructures, with one key condition: that the pets, Harold and Chester, stayed similar enough to their original core personality traits and dynamic, something the show follows for the most part. While less intelligent and more of a dim-witted goofball by comparison, Harold remains easygoing, kind, and helpful to his friends and family, occasionally even serving as the level-headed mediator, as he can fluently translate Bunnicula's unintelligible speech. He tends to be less impulsive and readily accepts the situation when facing the many horrors the gang encounters. Harold stands in sharp opposition to the sarcastic, often paranoid, and highly neurotic Chester, who, with a strong craving for knowledge, is always seeking logic in the illogical, and striving to prevent supernatural events from escalating any further, as blatant supernatural occurrences take place in each episode. A totally new format that the franchise hasn't explored, given that the novels placed greater emphasis on mystery and were narrated solely through Harold's perspective. The reader was left without solid proof on whether Bunnicula was actually a vampire or simply displaying unusual traits. The author always left key details ambiguous enough to argue either way. These theories and observations all stemmed from Chester's deep, obsessive investigations into strange occurrences, typically resulting in delusional, paranoid, jumping to conclusions. Evidence like Bunnicula being more active at night and sleeping during the day, or the black markings on his fur slightly resembling a vampire's cape, might be a bit of a stretch. Harold, of course, typically shrugged off these conclusions or was simply too clueless to fully grasp them.
Are you sure?
Gee,
I hope so.
Preserving just enough ambiguity to keep you guessing about Bunnicula's true nature from one installment to the next. The cartoon, however, made it clear from episode 1 that Bunnicula possesses supernatural abilities. He can communicate with other paranormal beings and even access alternate dimensions, all the while being absolutely adorable, I may add. His powers are enhanced through different forms of vegetable and fruit juice, each with its own quirky effects. For instance, spinach gives him super strength, blueberries give him the blues, iceberg lettuce grants him Elsa powers, and a ghost pepper gives him fire breath. The gang often encounters silly twists on creatures like Muddy Harry instead of Bloody Mary, or faces off against a giant hybrid spider lamb who slings sticky wool sweaters. The series leans heavily into cheesy puns, and it's engaging seeing all the unexpected, bizarre ways those puns tie back into whatever conflict the episode is focusing on between the trio. For example, there's one episode called Purgatory that touches on the 9 lives of Chester. After living with Bunnicula for a while, and repeatedly falling victim to his mischievous, traumatic pranks, Chester's previous 8 lives return to Earth. They quickly become overly protective of their final life, trying to eliminate Bunnicula in the process.
Got ya!
This special bond between the 3 pets grounds the show amidst all the otherworldly chaos, all of which goes totally unnoticed by their owner Mina and her father Arthur. The 2 of them recently moved into the haunted apartment after Arthur inherited it from a deceased aunt. The building's name derives from Count Orlok, the original landlord, who even makes an appearance in the season 2 episode Orlok Down. The apartment building has a mostly mysterious past, but we do get some subtle lore drops from time to time. The biggest is that Bunnicula was previously Dracula's pet, and Mina discovered him sealed away in the cellar while exploring. The novel, on the other hand, presents a different origin. 2 brothers found the rabbit at a late-night screening of Dracula, inspiring the name Bunnicula. On the note of character changes and additions, there are a few new supporting characters introduced in the series that wouldn't have worked in the books, given their blatant supernatural ties and abilities. There's Lugosi, a reference to Bela Lugosi's Dracula. He's a manic guinea pig servant who is obsessed with his master Bunnicula, and sort of acts as this universe's version of Renfield. His strong devotion often led to conflict within the main group, especially earlier on, when Lugosi was somewhat of an antagonist before transitioning into more of a support force for both Bunnicula and his friends. Then we have the eccentric Patches. He's a weredude, and he won't let you forget it.
It's Patches! Hey, I'm Patches. I'm a weredude.
A weredude in that he's a cursed cat rather than a traditional wolf, who constantly transforms back and forth between a human and a cat under direct moonlight. Patches pops up from time to time throughout the series, bringing wacky and absurd humor. He also serves as a friendly, fun-loving, and laid-back dude who helps the gang with advice or extra assistance against otherworldly threats. While generally quirky with its buddy comedy charm, the show sprinkles in dark jokes and self-referential humor periodically to satisfy both a younger and older crowd. While animated using dreaded Flash, which by this point had been renamed to Adobe Animate, it does a lot to push the standard look often associated with Flash. Borutsky was keen on using the digital environment as a tool, rather than solely relying on repeated rigs and assets. This, in addition to its fluid frame rate and the detailed, high-contrast, deep-colored backgrounds that fully embrace shadows and highlights, gives off a greater visual depth, as well as contributing to the overall creepy, cute atmosphere and gothic aesthetic, achieving an energy and visual polish that, let's be honest, most cheaper modern shows usually lack. Sadly though, it didn't stick around long. After the series was resurrected exclusively for Boomerang and added to the now discontinued streaming service in 2017, Bunnicula rapidly premiered all 24 segments of its 3rd and final season in December of the following year. This was a noticeable decrease from the previous 2 seasons' total of 40 11-minute episodes each. The last segment saw the introduction of Bunnicula's younger, more antagonistic brother, who, unlike Bunnicula, drains the energy of other beings for their powers and actively rejects his brother's positive, caring lifestyle. It's a fairly straightforward finale that could have honestly aired as any other episode, besides one moment towards the very end that unfortunately feels tacked on at the last second. Once Bunnicula defeats his brother through the power of love, Mina walks in on him and for the first time clocks the fact that Bunnicula has actually been a vampire the whole time.
That's the coolest thing ever!
After 100 episodes built on random conveniences or just like blatant ignorance on her and her father's behalf, she's just okay with it. Completely thrilled. The ending is like almost laughably anticlimactic. Could have resulted from a rushed production schedule due to a sudden cancellation notice, especially considering this final season had a reduction in the usual episode order. However, despite the series' somewhat disappointing, abrupt conclusion, I definitely recommend giving it a watch, or for some, even a rewatch. The show is a solid, fresh take on the property, leaning heavily into whimsical, supernatural antics, and considering how different it is from the novels in terms of design, tone, perspective, just everything, I would say it's best enjoyed as a standalone, modern retelling that, given its placement on Boomerang, truly captures the feeling of a contemporary Saturday morning cartoon. It's the perfect show to watch for a casual dose of sweet and spooky fun due to its simple concept and episodic nature. It's just too bad the show didn't receive the exposure it deserved.
Will you be using a capitalistic form of democracy or maybe more of a socialized form of communism?
There'll be no socializing. It will only be my rule. Fear will keep them in line, yes.
Fascism, got it.
Primarily hindered by a highly competitive landscape and largely poor handling by the network. Still, even after facing a year-long delay and a condensed broadcasting window, it surprisingly achieved a considerable output of over 100 11-minute episodes, an impressive amount, especially when compared to similar shows that faded quickly into obscurity. But anyways, let me know in the comments if you remember this version of Bunnicula. Have you seen it, and what did you think of it? Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with future vids like this, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.